Morning campers, coffee time. So, I want to tell you a little story today. I was just reading the comments on the video yesterday, and somebody said, this is not the story actually, but somebody said, oh, just an opinion, but why don't do you even read these comments? Why don't you reply to comments? I do reply to comments as much as I can, but when somebody leaves me a message like that, I tend to ignore them because a lion does not have to reply to a jackal. But anyway, the story today is, what I mean is, don't try to flush me out and try to call me out. You know, I do my best at all points, and you as a viewer have no idea what I'm going through personally, because I don't go on about these things, you know. Because this is not about us as individuals. There's always a bigger picture at play, and what I try to do is tap into that bigger picture at all times. And it's been I don't think of myself as somebody that knows everything at all, but I can only draw upon my own personal life experiences, and the one that came to mind this morning is to do with understanding the bigger picture. My journey to being able to see the bigger picture is really the story of my life. I mean, if you've heard this story before, I apologise, but the story, it's a story, it's funny, isn't it? Our lives are stories, yeah. Well, what happened to me is that when I was 17 years old, my dad had they called it a cerebral brain hemorrhage, which is a funny term really, because a brain hemorrhage is cerebral, isn't it? But anyway, he was 37 years old. I had a young dad. He was my best friend. And he had a brain hemorrhage on the 19th of November 1986. And, when I look back on it, the strange thing is that I had a premonition about him dying when I was younger. Of course, I had no idea what being psychic was or meant then. I just look back on it for years going, that's weird. How did I know that? But anyway, he collapsed on the toilet, actually. Fell into the bath. When my mum came out of the bedroom, which I always thought was funny, all she could see was my dad's bum across the landing through the open toilet door. And he was a joker, and he was always joking. That's why I loved part of why I loved him so much. I still do love him because he's still with me. But anyway, back then he had this brain hemorrhage, and then went to hospital, and lots of things come to mind when I think of that. This is probably where my complete distrust of the medical establishment comes from. Although that does actually go back to childhood, from when I was a baby. The village doctor's name was Dr. Payne. Dr. Payne. You'd have thought he'd have changed his name by deed poll. But Dr. Payne refused to come and see me when I was a baby, apparently, when I was really ill. And my great-granddad, Joe, my pap, went and got him. He was a fighter. But anyway, this same Dr. Payne came and said he's had a brain hemorrhage, and ambulance came, took him away. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I went to school on the Thursday and Friday in the belief and hope that obviously he was going to be okay. But then on the Saturday morning, I went into the hospital, and my mum was tapping my dad's hand, trying to wake him up, and she'd been doing this all night. And the doctor turned to me and said, I'm afraid your father is brain dead, and we need to switch the life support machine off, and we can't get an answer from your mother. And then he asked me, and I was 17. I don't think this is legal anymore, but he asked me, and what could I do? I said yes. And I spent the next 20, 30 years thinking I'd killed my dad. And I did go to see a therapist. I did go to see I did lots of what I thought was healing. It's interesting, the word therapist, isn't it? It spells the rapist. If you're a therapist watching this, I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying these words are interesting, aren't they? But it wasn't until a couple of years into my podcast that I had a healing with a guy called Gordon Durant Smith, who is in Spain, and he's been on my show, my podcast, a few times. Lovely man, really lovely man, and he offered me a healing, and he said we did this healing anyway. And my dad showed up in the healing, and what's interesting is that throughout COVID, I saw my dad's face all the time because he's always with me. I think our ancestors are with us all the time. I don't think it, I know it. And this is the thing, it's like, knowing stuff is hard in this world to talk about sometimes because people want proof all the time. It's like when I talk about UFOs. I see UFOs every night. They literally appear as soon as I step outside and look up. And people say, where's the proof? It's like, well, I don't always have a camera, and even when I do, you can't always pick them up on the camera. But I know what I saw. I know what. Sometimes I share that, and the reason I share it, and the reason I share most things on this channel, on this podcast, is simply because of the amount of people that have told me that it's good to hear somebody else talking about this stuff, because so many people have these kind of experiences but then don't speak about them because of ridicule, fear of ridicule from family and friends. Think of all the people in your life that have laughed at your ideas or scoffed your ambitions or slowed you down in life because they told you can't do this, you can't do that. What would this person think? What would that person think? I know so many people whose parents teach them to lie to keep up appearances. It's ridiculous. Or, one of my friends committed suicide because he was under so much pressure. This is back in the RAF. He was under so much pressure to get a high score in his exams from his parents that when he didn't get that extremely high score, he stabbed himself in a car park with a big knife and killed himself. It's ridiculous that we put people under this pressure with our expectations. But the point of this story is that when I had this session with Gordon, my dad appeared in the session. Gordon's a spiritual healer, and he said he died. He had to die so that I could become who I have become. Now, what's really interesting about that is that even 5 years ago, if somebody had said that to me, I'd have probably punched them. Yes, I can be a little aggressive at times, but I would have probably kicked off because the pain of my dad's death has been a very raw thing for a very long time. But when I heard that, when Gordon told me that, I understood what he meant. It's hard to explain, but you just get to a point where you understand things. And this is true. This is what's getting me through looking around at the world at the moment. What seems to be going on is, all the stuff, World War III, Trump's good, Trump's bad. mass immigration, abortion at full term limits. It's full Satan. It's fully horrible. Yeah, here I am looking at a beautiful sky with the sun shining, and I choose to see that. I choose to see birds flying and the ants going about their business, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Because it is. The point is that the stuff that humanity as a collective is going through looks painful, looks terrible, looks hopeless. I mean, when my dad died, I was hopeless. I mean, I cracked on with my life. I went into the RAF and did my best. But when I look back on it, I realised, well, if he hadn't died, I wouldn't have woken up to the world. You know, I'd have probably stayed in the Air Force. As it turns out, I bought myself out very young, very early, before I finished my training. And I don't think I'd have done that if my dad hadn't died, because it woke up a part of me. I used to describe it like every aspect of my personality got thrown up into the air, and when it came back down again, different aspects of my personality were different. And you know, that was my analogy. How many years ago is it? Nearly 40 years ago. Then, and it's the same now. Actually, I've not thought of that for years. And that's what happens. You, when you get perspective, it makes sense. So I guess the point of this video is really to, I don't know, share this with you. If you're finding what's going on in the world difficult, if you're thinking, well, this great awakening's taken a bloody long time, I'm fed up, I'm tired. I read that a lot in the comments. People say, I'm tired, I'm fed up, and I'm sick of this. And somebody left a comment today saying that they just buried a friend who committed suicide at the age of 45. If you're watching this, I'm sorry for your loss. But, you know, suicide is not the answer, I don't think. I've lost many friends to suicide, and I've always said the same thing. Why? Why would you go when there's all this to witness? And it will make sense. Somebody's disagreeing with me over there, but it will make sense if you can hang on and find the joy in every day and be grateful for every moment. And remember that we're in biblical times. And I say that as somebody who, you know, somebody left a comment yesterday saying, don't forget the atheist, Mark. And I was like, I was one. You know, I was an atheist for a long time. Or an agnostic. I never quite let go of God, because I was very close to God when I was a child. Not because of religious indoctrination. I just spoke to him all the time and felt him. And I still do. More than ever, actually. And that's really today's thought for the day is just hang on, because it will make sense. It doesn't right now, but it will make sense. So our job in the meantime is to look for the things that we enjoy every day, and be grateful for them, because we're going to get through this. So whatever you're doing, have a beautiful day, and God bless you.